Okay, I'm going to try not to put
Greatness,
you to sleep since you're all awake,
it's just something we made up.
but yeah, just to kickstart things.
Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is a gift, reserved for a chosen few, for prodigies, for superstars. And the rest of us can only stand by watching. You can forget that. Greatness is not some rare DNA strand. It's not some precious thing. Greatness is no more unique to us than breathing. We're all capable of it. All of us.
Cool. Anybody seen that ad before? No? Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get very many good Nike ads out in Singapore. Um, but it illustrated my point in that. Sorry, am I too loud, too soft? Okay. Oh, you're standing in front. Of course you can hear me. um, okay, so the thing I want to talk to you guys about was building your brand. We're talking about brand trust. Um, I, for those of you who did the survey, thank you very much. It was very interesting. It was interesting that more than half of you think your brand is good enough. Okay, you're not absolutely certain that your brand is connecting, your brand is emoting with your audience. And that's a problem right there. Um, Essentially, when you're trying to get people, I mean, let's face it, charities, your number one worry is funding, right? I see a couple of smiles, a lot of nods. The challenge is that if people don't know your brand, or if you're not communicating enough, oh, sorry, is this better? Worse? Maybe it's just me. Um, if people don't know your brand, they can't trust your brand. Okay? If you're not communicating with people, they will never hear your brand, they'll never trust your brand, and then they will never give you money. Okay? So building trust in a brand for a charity is not easy because really you're trying to, maybe I shouldn't stand here. You're trying to get them to give you money for nothing. If you're buying a shoe, great. If you're buying a laptop, great, you get value. But to get people to donate, that's really hard. And then the next thing is you have to get people to trust your brand. That's even harder. I mean, a lot of consumer brands, that's their number one struggle. I work with a lot of consumer brands, a lot of corporates, and some of them have been around for 50 years, and they still struggle with their brand. They still do something wrong, and that's it. They lose brand trust. Um, and losing brand trust happens very quickly. Like during the panel, we talk about, they talked about, it took you 10 years to build your brand. But in 10 seconds, you post the wrong thing on social media, your CEO says the wrong thing on a Channel News Asia interview or something, or one of your members wearing your t-shirt does something wrong on the street, is captured on social media, and then that's it, your brand's gone. Okay? So, but to get to the point where your brand is recognized, it takes a lot of effort. And you have to build your brand today. And because of social media to a degree, you have to build your brand to a degree that it is so trusted that if something bad happens, you survive. A lot of brands die because of somebody from your organization does something wrong. Okay? So building brands is not going to start overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. Sorry. It starts with really knowing who your audience is. And with charities, unfortunately, having worked with some charities, having advised some charities, a lot of them treat their audience as one big group. Okay? Volunteers, your donors, your corporate partners, they all think it's one big audience. In fact, it's different. Every single segment of your audience wants a different thing from you. Okay? Your donors, they want to know what you're spending your money on, what you're spending their money on. What's your mission? Why is your mission important? Okay? Your corporate partners, they want to know how by partnering you, they look good. I mean, yeah, there are corporates that do it for sake of doing good. But let's be clear, a lot of corporates, when they partner with you, they want to see their name next to you saying why they are doing something with you, right? Fact of life. The media, and this is a big pain point with a lot of charities. Okay, I don't really want to criticize the panel earlier, but fact of the matter is, just because you write to the media doesn't mean the media is going to pick up your story. That's just not how it works, right? I'm sure a lot of you experience it. I've talked to a couple of charities, and they tell me, yeah, we easily send them 100 invites, and they've ignored us all the time. The question of the media is, why should we write about you? Okay, if you're doing another event that 10 other charities are already doing, why is it exciting to our audience? Okay, they have to have a real reason, and it starts really with your brand. Okay, so your target audience wants to see what you're doing. The target audience wants to be reminded what you're doing all the time. Okay, maybe not all the time, but often enough. It's kind of like the theory of consumer advertising. Okay, first you hear about the product. Oh, sounds interesting, but you walk away and you go, odds are 5 minutes later you forget. Then you walk past the bus stop, you see a poster. Oh, yeah, I heard about this product, read about it, sounds interesting. Maybe I'll go try it. You go home, play on social media, and it pops up again. And he goes, oh, since I've got 5 minutes, I'll order it online. That's how it works. And that's a process that charities need to kind of adopt as well. Okay, maybe you don't have to buy up bus stop ads. It helps, but it's not necessary. But you need to figure out a way where you can hit your target audience repeatedly with the messages that they are looking for. Okay? And only then will they know, or rather, will they want to know what you are doing. Okay? Another interesting thing I was looking at in terms of audience attendance today. I'll be very honest, I'm not trying to be critical, but half of the brands or half of the organizations here, I honestly never knew you existed. Okay, and if I don't know you exist, why should I support you? And why should I donate to you? Okay, so you kind of have to up your communications and branding efforts. Okay, so upfront and center. Things that you guys can do. I'm very cautious about the amount of time we have. Things that you guys have to do is your top leaders have to be the face of the organization. And I've met a lot of charities, in fact, forget charities, a lot of organizations, period, especially with Singaporean leaders or Asian leaders. And I told them, hey, you got to face the press. You got to make a public speech. And the response I get is, don't want lah, very shy ah. I don't look good on TV. I might say the wrong thing. Sorry, if you're going to be the leader of an organization, you have to be the face. Okay? People don't trust brands that have no clear leader. And people trust brands, or people trust people. Okay, especially if you're an unknown brand, if you're new, then I need to know whoever's leading the organization can be trusted. that I like the person. He or she is saying the right thing that makes me excited. Okay, so your leaders have to be the face of an organization from the start. Building trust starts with people. Okay, so after your leaders, it goes down your organization. All of you have to be saying the same thing. And this is why key messaging in your organization is important. Everybody gets a sheet of paper that says, this is how we describe our organization when you talk to somebody. It's a very simple step. But I would say 99% of organizations never do it. Okay? So what the CEO says has to be the same thing as what the marketing manager says, has to be the same thing as what the account manager is saying or account executive is saying, down to if you can even help your tea auntie or the uncle that's sweeping, when he's asked, what does this charity do? He should be able to answer it almost as well as your CEO. Maybe not the same words, but close enough. Okay? Only then will the public hear what you have to say. Okay? If everybody's saying slightly different thing, then the question as the public will be asking is, does this charity even know what they themselves are doing? Worse is that they start asking, oh, the CEO saying this, people on the ground saying something totally different. Then they're like, okay, I don't trust this charity. Okay? And the next mistake that a lot of organizations make is that we get very fixated about what we want to say. Okay, I started this charity because I want to do this. So this is what I'm going to say. The problem is that might not be what the audience wants to hear. And if you only say what you want to say and the audience isn't interested in what you have to say, you just basically lost your audience. So you have to go figure out, okay, your different, again, going back earlier, your different audiences, what are they interested in? And then how do we merge what we want to say to address what they are interested in? I find one of the biggest struggles is when I talk to top leadership and they all want to say what they want to say. Okay, and you tell them, look, the audience is not interested. And, no, this is what our organization is. This is what our organization does. Yes, that's what your organization does. But if your audience doesn't want to hear what your organization does, then what's the point of saying it? You need to go figure out how the two merge. It starts really with knowing your audience. Okay? I know it sounds odd, and I know some of us don't like it, but you really do need to start your audience first instead of what you want to say. Okay? The next thing is once you figure out, okay, how you've merged your messages together, audience, as well as what you want to say, keep it consistent, keep it simple, and keep it succinct. As Alicia earlier did, 3 words to describe your organization. That works. If you have to spew out a whole paragraph to describe what your organization does, you're in trouble. Okay? If you're in a lift and you happen to start talking to a person next to you and she or he asks, what do you do? And if you have to spend the next 5 floors trying to explain what you do, you've lost the person's interest. It's normal. It's just human nature. When you talk to somebody and they go on and on and on and on about what they do, you're smiling at the person, you're probably nodding along, but inside you've kind of turned off. Right? But if the person can tell you in 3 words or 5 words, at most 10 words, what they do, and they make it exciting, impactful, with a bit of energy, also you probably then go, okay, I heard about this. Can you tell me a little bit more? That's how you go. And that's how you reach out with your brand as well. And with key messages, keep it down to 3. Same as Alicia saying 3 keywords, 3 messages. We do this, what? We do this because, 2. And this is the result tree. For charities, it's actually a lot simpler than corporations. Break it down to tree. And with each message, have a supporting statement. Only tree. Why tree? Anybody want to guess why tree? Yes, easy to remember. But more importantly, anything more than three, people forget. Yeah, how the brain works. Yeah, how the brain works. Anything more than three, people forget. All of us today used to be, we were like 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I first started, we were bombarded with about 2,000 messages a day. You know, you walk down the street, you see advertising, you talk to people, 2,000. Today with social media, with online news, with 24-hour news, etc. The more we meet more people, we talk to more people, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. On average, you get about 10,000 messages a day. Most of the time, we don't remember 9,000. What? Sorry, I can't do math. That's why I'm in marketing. 9,000. You probably forget about 9,000 messages. It's fact of life. Okay, so you have to keep it simple. Okay. So if the public doesn't understand what you're trying to say from the beginning, they won't donate to what you're doing. Next thing. Case, and I see sometimes, I see a few blank faces. Lots of people take pictures, but a few blank faces. If there's anything I'm not making sense, or if you're not understanding what I'm saying, please ask. Okay? So you have a lot of channels. Nice thing about today with social media, phones, etc., you have a lot of channels. Okay? But you need to know how to leverage these channels properly. Again, not to criticize the MediaCorp panelists earlier. The media are not going to carry a lot of your stories that you think is interesting. Okay? They won't cover shout-outs for fundraisers. Okay, so if you're having a lucky draw, you're having a carnival or fun fair, they're not going to do a story on it. Fact. Okay, so you have to pitch it in a different way. And even then, it's not necessarily a guarantee. Okay, they will cover major announcements. For example, if you're opening a new center that costs $10 million, sure, they'll probably send three or four reporters down. Okay, but if you're doing something about fundraising, they're not going to talk about it. Human interest stories kind of depends. Okay, because human interest stories are not time sensitive, they might cover it if it's really, really interesting, but they'll cover it at their own time because it's not necessarily time sensitive. They don't have to do it today. Okay, that's traditional news media. If you want them to do stories, not just writing to them and then they'll say, oh yeah, well, oh, okay, this charity is doing this, do it. I think there's more than 2,000 registered charities in Singapore. NPOs, you add to the number of NPOs, you add to a number of, wow, whatever. Each reporter, and I spoke to one just the other day, he's telling me that on average, he gets 30 media invites a day. Either invites or media pitches. Okay, so your story really, really has to stand out. Otherwise, they're not going to carry it. The other thing is, so I know because of charity, so I'm specifically addressing this, is if you are trying to get attendance for fundraising activities. Number one concern for most of people in this room, right? Yes, no, yes. Okay, wow, only a few of you, so the rest of you don't need money. Okay, number one concern for most charities is fundraising. Okay? A lot of these activities better driven, or this awareness better driven by social media. Okay, if you can post, oh, last year we had all these fun things and lots of people. In fact, if you're doing a fundraising activity this weekend or moving forward, make sure you get a couple of good videos of people who enjoyed doing the activity. And very often we get it, we post it tomorrow, and we forget about it. More important thing is next year, if you're doing it again, use those videos. It's customer testimonial for you. I really enjoyed it. If you can get an attendee to say, I really enjoy it, I'm looking forward to next year's. Okay, that's goal. Simple. It's really, really simple. Okay. The other thing that you really need to do, and again, talking to some charities, they don't do, is that when people attend your events, ask for their media contacts. I know there's PDPA issues and all that, but when you ask for the email contacts, ask them if you have permission to email them. So the next year, when it comes to significant things, drop them an email. Hey, thanks for coming for last year's event. You indicated that you enjoyed it. Can we invite you to this year's event? You're going to probably get maybe 50 people who come back. If you get 100, then you get 50 people come back. Great. But then take the next step is, hey, you enjoyed it so much last year. Why don't you invite your friends, your family, your colleagues along? So all of a sudden, instead of 50 people, you get 200 people. If each of them bring 3 people, that's 200 people. Okay? That's probably a lot more effective. It's simple. And also, interestingly, as I was going through the survey, less than half of you use email as an outreach tool. So if you look left, look right, also one of you didn't use email. And email is still very effective. Alternatively, don't use email, that's fine. Use the WhatsApp chat, Telegram chat, whatever. But use these tools. Okay? Don't rely on traditional news media to get your story out. Okay? Social media posts have become regular. Interestingly, when the survey came back, I think 87% of you use social media, which is good. Well, except for the 13% could do better. But interestingly enough, don't make your social media too professional looking. Okay, a couple of people looked up. 2 reasons. 1, social media has to be a little bit raw. Has to be real life, has to be reflected real life. If it's too professionally produced, social media, people think it's another ad, they move on. It's like, how many of you actually look at ads on social media? Hands up. Nobody. Exactly. So if it's too professionally created, it looks like an ad. So nobody pays attention to it. Second problem with that is, if it looks too professionally produced, your donors are going to go, wow, these people got a lot of money, I can produce this. I don't need to give them money. So it actually backfires. Okay? Make it raw, make it easy. Take a picture of a person that was there last year, have a quote from him, and then after that, we're doing it again this year, come back. Okay? Make it easy. And also, by doing that, it saves you so much time, so much effort. Okay? Newsletters still have a place, but just don't do it too often. If you do it every week, forget it, you're wasting your time. If you do it once a month, it's probably still too much. My suggestion is you do it once a quarter, once every half year, maybe even once a year. If you do it too often, it becomes so normal that people don't bother to read. And the fact is, most of us are so busy, we don't really read newsletters anymore anyways. So if I get a newsletter every month, after a while I just put it in junk mail and never come back to it. So make it unique, make it once in a while, and only focus on important announcements. Okay? This one's important. For charities especially, you need to make sure that whatever you put out is emotive, that your audience feels something. One thing that was interesting for me was that when I started advising charities or talking to charities, this phrase came up a lot. And the phrase was pity porn. Pity as in P-I-T-Y, porn as in pornography. Okay? They were too worried about, oh, we make people feel like, we're taking advantage of our patients, we are taking advantage of people who are less well off, let's put it that way. But those same images are the ones that get people to donate to you. Okay? Your audience needs to feel why what you're doing is important. You can obviously, certain images you don't show, like somebody dying or whatever. But you need to go figure out what works for you, but you really need to do things that get people to emote. Okay? If you don't want to do emote, the next one's a little bit more difficult. Entertain. Those of you on social media, and I assume most of the room in here, when you go through your social media, what do you tend to stop and watch or read? Fun things, right? If it's too boring, you skip, swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. But you will always stop at a funny picture or a cute picture of a cat or something that's really funny and, a video and it makes you laugh, makes you feel good. So you need to figure out what sort of things, based on what you do, can be entertaining. I know for charity sometimes it's a bit sensitive, but it works. Okay? Once you can either emote or entertain, then you can educate. If you can't get them to pay attention by emotion or entertainment, you're never going to be able to educate them, your audience, on what you do. Okay? The last, and this is actually quite interesting, is you need to give them an experience. And this in some ways goes back to emote or entertain. They have to feel as if they are part of what you're doing. If they can feel that they're part of what you're doing, then they go, okay, this actually is important. So in that sense, experiential events are still really, really good. I've been to a few of charity events over the last year or so, actually more than last year or so. And they all do the same thing. They all do the same thing. You need to figure out a way where the people coming to your events do something with you. In fact, if you can make them do something that they feel, wow, I did something good, they're more likely to donate, they're more likely to come back to you. Because all of us want to feel as if we've done something good. Even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. They're more likely then to come back and commit to you either by doing money or doing something with you again 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 1 year. Okay? Make them feel as if they are part of you. Don't just have them come, oh, I play a game of darts, and I go. Okay? I've seen a lot of booths set up, and then all these interesting fact sheets. Some soft toys, etc. And then they're happily giving away stickers and flyers. I see the people walk away. 5 minutes after they walk away, they throw the flyer in a dustbin. So in some ways, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your effort. You need to figure out, as your charity, what can you do for the audience to do something that has them experiencing what you go through on an everyday level. They have to feel. Not easy, but if you want to do events, that's how you get people to buy into your brand. Okay, so, okay, pretty much half an hour. So as a charity, your brand's been everything. It really is. If people don't know your brand, people don't trust your brand, they're not going to give you money. Fact. People won't pay attention to you unless they know your brand. They recognize your brand, they heard your brand. Preferably they heard somebody else talking about your brand passionately. Okay? And then only will they believe in your brand or mission. And then they need to see you in action. Also, you need to see your top leaders doing, not just talking on CNA, not just giving interviews, but they need to see your top leaders rolling up their sleeves and doing. Okay? Only then will they give you money. And it's a long-term investment. For most charities, and I understand because funding is the most important thing for a lot of you, you're so busy chasing after the next fundraising activity to bring in funds that you sometimes don't have time to think about branding, because branding is a big thing, it's a long-term thing. Okay, but it's important. You can actually marry the two, it's not that difficult, but you need to get your brand out there. It's strategic, because if your brand does well, more money comes in. I mean, take a fantastic example, Red Cross. Every time you hear Red Cross, say, oh, okay. Oh, they are doing a crisis fundraise. People give money, happily give money. Why? Because they know the brand. They trust the brand. But Red Cross didn't happen overnight. Same thing with your brand. You need to start soon. Okay, and it's discipline. I think for a lot of organizations, a lot of charities, and I'm not saying you're indisciplined or ill-disciplined, but it's just you have to be very conscious about, okay, I'm doing the brand. I need to build a brand. I'm doing this. How do I get my brand message out? And the whole team needs to buy it. Okay? I will finish my part with this. I like a lot of Nike ads, especially in the context of what you guys do. Mostly because with Nike ads, they're all about the emotion. Okay? As you watch this ad, ask yourself, do you feel what you're talking about? Okay? Does it inspire you? And although obviously they're selling shoes and sportswear, but how can you take that concept, their concept, and apply it to you? Okay?
Listen up, babies. Life's not fair. You get no say in the world you're born into. You don't decide your name. You don't decide where you come from. You don't decide if you have a place to call home, or if your whole family has to leave the country. Yeah, it's messed up. You don't decide how the world judges a person like you. You don't decide how your story begins, but you do get to decide how it ends. Yes!
So you see, they entertained. There was emotion to it. It was fun, but the baby's kind of, pretty cute. But there was real emotion to it because they're talking about life is not easy. Life's not fair. Okay, and fact of for both charities, yes, life is not fair. But you can do it. You just need to start. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to my partner in crime, Alicia.
Thanks so much, Adrian. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Alicia, and I'm from Ray of Hope. Community, crowdfunding, trusted. Anyone also chose those three words to describe your charities? Okay, I hope not, because if not, we'd have to take this outside. Things could get unpleasant. And I'll tell you why. So there are about 2,300 registered charities in Singapore. NCSS members, I think about 500, thereabouts, social service agencies. Yeah? 5 online crowdfunding platforms that have signed the Code of Conduct for online crowdfunding, Code of Good Practice. Only one of all of these buckets is the crowdfunding charity that is an IPC in Singapore, and that is Ray of Hope. Community, crowdfunding, trusted. So what I have up here, well, rather my presentation, I need to preface it by saying it's not a whole lot of lessons that I have to share. Really, Ray of Hope, we are 12 years old. I mean, it's a lot of growing pains along the way. And as a parent to 2 teenagers, oh my gosh, I think there's a little more of a ways to go to hammer things out and move things slowly. So really, it's just sharing our branding journey because it is one that's still work in progress. When you see our mission and vision here, I have to read it because I am still a bit new to us because it's literally just been we've come to it in the last 2 to 3 months. Yeah, so fairly new. To build an inspired community where every individual is empowered to both receive and give support. That is our vision. Yeah, keeping in mind that we were founded as a crowdfunding platform. And our mission to be the first port of call for people in need with a giving community that fosters a more resilient and inclusive Singapore. That is our mission going forward. It's taken us quite a while to get here. What I like a little bit better, though, than this, all these words up here on the screen, is our origin story that many of us may not know about. In 2010, there was this horrific incident of Kallang slashing. Right, there's someone who went out and attacked 4 people. There was 1 casualty, 1 fatality. He was a migrant brother from India. And he had dependents, of course, a family mourning him back home. And it was very, very tragic. I think all of Singapore was in shock in 2010. Our founder, Danny Yong, read this in the papers and was thinking, how can I help the family of this victim of just the most senseless, reckless, violent crime? I want to be able to donate through a safe, verified platform. What is this mode that can connect us, me the giver and the recipient or the beneficiary's family? How do we do that? At that point, we didn't exist. We were a twinkle in his eye. And 2 years later, 2012, we were started as Ray of Hope, really with that objective in mind, to connect givers with those who need the resources. That's how we started. And perhaps that's an easier and more emotional way to connect with Ray of Hope. Happily, Adrian's covered why it is so important for nonprofits to focus on our branding. I must say, yes, all of this is true, and yes, third point, especially true for Ray of Hope because of our history as a crowdfunding charity. The transaction is the relationship we have with our donors, right? If we have to see that as the relationship. Donor engagement is top priority. Otherwise, we cannot channel these resources, these funds, to our clients, who are all verified by our caseworkers. Yeah? Okay. Also, to understand the path that we've taken in our branding journey is also to understand our thought process. When we look at the market out there, I mentioned 5 crowdfunding platforms, right? Of which we are the only one that's a registered charity and IPC. Yeah, listed. So what are our USPs, right? 100% of individual campaigns are verified by caseworkers. So you know that there has been people cited, people interviewed, you know, there was an assessment done in person. We vouch for that, and 100% of campaign donation amount goes to clients. So for example, versus a commercial enterprise, we as Ray of Hope, as a crowdfunding charity, are anchored on values. That's why we promise 100% of the donation goes to the client. Whether or not you as a donor are prepared to cover the transaction fee, the credit card fee, or any related fees, we will cover that. We fall out of our own ops cost for that. And that's a big selling point. It's a big way of how people identify our brand. Oh, Ray of Hope. Yeah, you're the charity that enables me to give everything I want to the client. Okay? And that's how we started, yes. But how do we continue in this evolving day and age, in this dynamic situation, to continue to show our relevance, right? Because as I mentioned, if the transaction is the relationship, how do we measure impact? Is it after the final disbursement to a client? How do we get testimonials when our clients' financial situations and life situations may not have stabilized? I must say, to Adrian's point about pity porn or poverty porn, Ray of Hope, we really strongly prefer an empowerment lens when we look at our clients. We do not allow certain kinds of photos or have our clients portrayed in a way that they do not agree with. And sometimes that means back-facing photos. Sometimes that means things that we know will not help to market the campaign, but it's with full respect and approval of our clients. Yeah, because we are a charity after all. So understanding that there are changing needs out there, and how do we build a stronger identity in both the crowdfunding and the charity space to set ourselves apart. We realized that we needed to do more. So our journey, I don't know if anyone might remember, this was before I joined the organization. 2012, it was a bit slapdash, haphazard, because we were a unit of a larger office, right? In our founder's office. So while it was great, we didn't have a very strong visual presence. If we use this as an indicator about how much attention goes to building a brand. From around 2018, thereabouts, maybe 2 years before and 2 years after, we were called the Ray of Hope Initiative. Like, not very certain yet, only an initiative, not a full-on organization or charity. Then we thought, be done with that. Let's properly, call ourselves what we intend to be, which is Ray of Hope, and all the necessary paperwork that goes behind that, right? Formalizing our identity. So that's 2020, the logo that most of you may be familiar with. And yet, this visual representation, when you ask the team in Ray of Hope, and we're a small team, I was the 5th staff, I joined in 2020, it didn't resonate. It seemed dated. It seemed very captive, very square, no room to grow. It doesn't capture the diversity of the community that we purport to serve. We have an interim logo that we use, which is on our migrant friends' t-shirt. It says Ray of Hope. Summer-loving font, of course, because that's the way we roll. Something friendlier, something bouncier, something more energetic, something that we think should define us going forward. Agile. We love pilot projects, willing to embrace, we connect, we partner. So slowly more of these stirrings were coming out. Yeah? When I say we're on this journey and work in progress, it really is that, because we are in the process of launching or relaunching the strengthened brand, which will happen in Q1 of next year. So right now, it's all of these discussions that we're going through, and sorry, cannot share it yet. It will be very exciting, and we hope to see all of you there when we relaunch ourselves in Q1 next year. But it was a process and it was a journey. And I think these are where us as charities, charity leaders, have to make a decision, right? Do we want to do a bottom-up? Is internal alignment important? For us, it is. Even though now we're a team of 11, only 11 people, we believe we punch above our weight. And internal clients, ourselves, really are the ambassadors. We are key stakeholders. So we must align on what we think we do in order to go out and shout it out, right? On the streets, on the mountaintop, what have you. So we had internal alignment, and that's through workshops, through, both facilitated externally as well as internally, to get a sense of how we want to land and how we want to show up. Of course, that comes with a website redesign, phasing things in, consistent messaging, external marketing, and 3 areas, as Adrian mentioned too: social media, storytelling, and strategic partnerships. These are the 3 that work especially well for us. Okay, wordy, but really just to show the journey that we were on. For Facebook, because interestingly, Facebook was our social media platform of choice for the most number of years. Yeah? Typically, we would use it to push out client campaigns. So if there's a multi-stress family that needs help, we'll push that out. If there is a migrant worker who's been injured and needs help, we push that out, the actual campaign itself. Okay, now we're using it in different ways, in broader ways, in the sense of carrying Ray of Hope's brand. If you're looking to volunteer, or if we have a shout out for help, we need people to show up for an event. And also to give gratitude posts, right? Appreciation to partners and all, we use Facebook. Why? Because according to our data analytics, most of our donors and most of our engagement are female between the age of 30 to 50 via Facebook. Those are the ones who tend to convert into donors for our campaigns. Yeah, so we need to continue nurturing and working and engaging with them. Instagram, newer for us, but also we have a separate strategy for Instagram. As Adrian mentioned, there's the recency effect, right? So when there's stuff going on, you want social proof, right? Someone showing you you're actually doing what you said you were doing, and better still, other people who are there have a great time, then tag you. Testimonials, right? This attests to the stuff that we said. Quite a typical format. This was done with our community partner. Ray of Hope partnered Wild Fig Yoga Studio, and we organized an event for migrant volunteers from across 3 dorms, as well as students, as well as Ray of Hope community members, meaning our former clients, to bring them all together for a morning of well-being and yoga exercises at Scape. So it's a chance to say, thank you, Scape. Thank you to Penny University who sponsored the coffee. Thank you to whoever sponsored the fruit bars. Thank you, everyone. We had a lovely time, done and dusted and done by our partner, went out on their socials, tagged us. We're very happy. No work on our part. That makes me happiest because I'm the only staff involved in this initiative. So it would be a very heavy load on me otherwise. Remember, only 11 people strong. So we have to make good with very little. And it is still possible. We just have to amplify. Social media LinkedIn. Wow, surprisingly, this one has lots of traction too for our corporate engagements. So we do shout outs, right, for the corporates that partner us, of course, to show this is what we can do. You want to flex with us? Come on board. We curate something for you too. It's also for us to shout out about our impact when we've got, let's say, quarterly updates. I take the opportunity to go and publish that as well, to share so more people are aware of the space. And of course, with increased regularity and all right, then the algorithm gods work in our favor. But it is true that if you get more of your team members, especially caseworkers and frontliners, if they do have the time and the bandwidth to post a bit more, their stories really are the human interest stories and word from the ground, right? It's like notes from the field. People are very, very interested. And it saves me trying to tell a story on others' behalf, right? Because our team, they are coming into these roles where they too have to represent us. Yeah, it's not about the GM or the deputy GM going out to sell our work. Each one of us in the team can do that. Storytelling and partnerships, right? So I'd mentioned social media. We just covered that. Next, storytelling and partnerships. Not a whole lot to say because we're still very new at this. We're tweaking as we go along to see what works, because concurrent with our focus on all of this that I'm sharing, we also have a data management program, which of course is fantastic because we are a crowdfunding platform, so we sit on shared loads of data, but what do you do with all of this data? We also don't know until we get the people in to plow through, make sure the data is clean, make sure we know what we want to measure, how we measure, and what is the impact of all of that and to whom? Is it operational dashboard you want? Is it management dashboard? Who is looking at what? So concurrently with that data cleanup, we're also realizing that we want to do storytelling, highlighting stories on our website, social media, through newsletters, stories from clients, volunteers, and from community partners. Now, for those of you who have concerns that PDPA or privacy concerns about highlighting your client's situations, we totally understand. As I mentioned, we don't veer into poverty or pity porn. So we actually prefer to highlight our volunteers' story. And by volunteers at Ray of Hope, it's also our former clients. So when they are in a situation where they feel they're comfortable talking about Ray of Hope or about themselves or about their community and the work they do with us, that's the time we capture the story. Yeah. This is an example from, again, our initiative that brings migrant volunteers together with local volunteers. And for storytelling, in this case, it's a partner whom we interviewed who shared about us.
We're all volunteers coming down together. There's no lead, there's no client. It's really a community coming together, having fun. So I think the conversations were what really touched my heart a lot more. So you kind of really know who the person is at the end of the day. I would just summarize it by saying that it's a lot of love.
I mean, how wonderful. I would have paid him to say that, but he said it of his own accord. He's a very dear friend of ours, Tai Chong at NUS. So, hang on, yeah. Strategic partnerships, I mentioned, to create social impact. I think for us at Ray of Hope, the wonderful thing is we are able to partner many entities, from social enterprises to fellow charities in the space. So if you have an idea, you'd like to see if we can take it and run with it together, do let us know, because we do have crowdfunding muscle. So this is something that if you want to try out a slightly different idea from what you're doing usually, if you want to run an event and you need a ticketing platform, that we've got in the pipeline. We've run a soft launch with 6 organizations already, and we are going to be taking it to market fairly soon. So you can arrange for a demo. And we're only doing it for charities and nonprofits because we've already developed it for ourselves. So got that infrastructure ready, we might as well share, right? And we're cheaper than any commercial option out there. Yeah, because it's for our sector. The idea is to grow and to work together. So wherever we can, we would like to be able to have these conversations. And that is also part of our brand, which is the difficulty because we do quite a lot of things now. Yeah, we've really evolved. So why strengthen the brand? I guess for clarity and for sanity, so that we too can better share the impact of our work and measure it more clearly. So it's actually a conversation with ourselves as well, a very necessary one about impact, right? So we evolved, as I mentioned, from a crowdfunding charity and connector to what we call ourselves now, a community builder. Because part of building a community is connecting people. That's what we do with crowdfunding, right? Because it's resources shared, financial resources. That's what we do through partnerships. It's different kind of resources, in-kind resources shared. Also through volunteering, those are people-hour resources shared. And that is mutually reinforcing, that uplifts everybody, and the sum total is so much larger than whatever each individual pillar would have contributed. So we are also keeping a pace with emerging and unmet needs in Singapore. So we often say our crowdfunding is how we first encounter our clients who are on a journey with us, right? So we are really at Ray of Hope a bellwether for the kinds of needs there are in Singapore. FSCs and other agencies refer clients to us, so we also know who has really fallen through the cracks. Those that no one else can serve, we are there. We are able to. So please, also if any agencies, your social workers, your medical social workers, frontliners want to make a referral, our case team is on standby. This is exactly what we do. That we enable, not that we enable, that we partner so that clients also have a stronger network of support around them. Yeah. Sometimes we do info and referrals as well, not only crowdfunding. So our rebranding is a commitment to this refreshed vision, a way for us to tell our story and share our journey better, right, with Singapore. It's our aspirations, lah. Of course, with all of this, then we think, oh, board will ask us, right, how do you measure success? Also, it's a work in progress, because it's not easy. Like I mentioned, we've got our data project, right, ongoing. How do we measure the effectiveness of our branding? Because it costs money to rebrand, right? All the time we're taking off for retreats to go and talk about the logo. So we expect then there should be some discernible difference, perhaps a significant jump, hopefully. Donations for clients via crowdfunding campaigns, because people know, they trust, if I want to donate, I will go to Ray of Hope and there are all the verified cases I can help. They will come to us as the first port of call for their donations. For our operations, that one up in neon lights for us, it's a constant problem for me. Hopefully through corporate donations and offline fundraising, because people believe in the work that we do, that we've captured in various channels that we put out, right? Public awareness and engagement through page views of our main landing page. And of course, there are other ways to measure. We're just thinking through right now, what is the impact of all this investment in rebranding? Yeah, got to land somewhere, right? Social media growth, maybe the number of followers, but how to measure conversion. And then media visibility in terms of coverage, which we're really not good at. It's been a bit shy, yeah. But again, developing areas. Yeah, so we can only focus our efforts on certain areas first before we scaffold and build and grow in the others. So we've chosen, donations for clients, donations for Ray of Hope, and public awareness. Okay, so I mentioned not a lot of lessons because really we are fairly unique. We are the only crowdfunding charity and IPC in Singapore. So there is that. Okay, but having said that, I think there are some commonalities we might face with other charities, large or small, on the branding journey, right? Depending on what your priorities are. For us, we wanted internal alignment, right, for a start. So to build trust and credibility, if I had to sum up based on our journey, which was a little bit meandering here and there, one, the power of transparency. Perhaps it's especially true for crowdfunding charity. I'd like to think it's also true across the board for any charity that depends on public donations and goodwill. Because what we've noticed is the moment there's a panic attack or somebody does poorly in the sector, whether it has anything to do with you or not, donations then run dry for everybody. What each of us does has a direct impact on the rest of us. So please, let's all do this better. Please. And then second thing, storytelling as a trust-building tool. That's working quite nicely for us. We're realizing people do listen more and connect more emotionally with stories. Seems so obvious, but it's something that we're more intentional about now, including perhaps getting our founder to tell more of these stories that we also newer joiners may not know about. The history of the organization through stories, because that is what connects us through time. The meaning, the importance, some of these don't go away, right? And they are really human stories about impact. And third, I mentioned internal alignment on brand and messaging. Because we're not aligned internally, it's very hard to ask us to go out and sell. And my attitude is always be selling. So when I was approached by the organizers, I asked them, why did you ask me? I know nothing about this. But I thought, okay, don't say no, say yes, because if anything, at the very least, it's an opportunity to sell. It's an opportunity to share. Selling is not a bad word. We all have ideas we want to sell, people we want to persuade, right? And more so, we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our community and our cause. So nothing shameful about that. In fact, I say always be selling to all of us here. Let's make it easier for each other to sell. Yeah? So all of these things fall into place. And, so that's it for me. Thank you very much. And I'll hand over to Adrian as we go around the next section. Just give us a few moments while you catch your breath. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I do have a question. Thanks for the sharing. My name is Daniel Chiu from CGC community. So he says, I actually have one question for each of you. Right. First, I think for Alicia, will you be able to share with us what do you see as the top 2 to 3 brand differentiator, right, for Ray of Hope in this kind of crowded space? And then the question for Adrian, a bit more time for you to think, is, well, because like when we put up email newsletter, right, and let's say someone try to click through it, right, you bring to a platform, and then they will say, oh, it's blocked. Why? Because there's a privacy setting, right? Say, okay, privacy protection. So how do you achieve that balance? Because you want to kind of monitor, right, the click-through, but yet on the other hand, people may just click through because it say threat, right? There's a threat, so go back, kind of thing.
Thanks for opening the Q&A with tough questions, Daniel. Nothing like keeping us on our toes. Okay, so to your question, let me just recap. So I remind myself, what are the top sort of 2 to 3 challenges that Ray of Hope faces in a contested market? No. Brand differentiation. How do we differentiate ourselves in a fairly crowded market? Okay, so because Ray of Hope is who we are, fairly small, limited resources, fairly young, we don't fight in the crowded space of we are a charity. In fact, we then cross over to that nice gray area of we are a crowdfunding charity. And then we try to connect us and make ourselves more sticky by also creating 2 additional pillars. We focus on volunteerism as well as partnerships. These 3 pillars, crowdfunding, partnerships, volunteerism, give us a stronger arsenal to connect more impactfully and meaningfully with the community as a whole. As a donor, you will find space in the volunteering or partnerships sort of space that we've created at Ray of Hope. As a client, so maybe a multi-stress family, you come on board to the crowdfunding, and then we graduate you to a volunteer, and you never know, potentially a community leader as well as a donor. So when you, for example, come for our volunteer appreciation events, we're having it this Saturday, it's a wonderful, diverse mix of migrant volunteers. You've got client volunteers, you've got Ray of Hope corporate volunteers, and people from every walk of life, which is important for us. Because again, that's the way we roll. How we differentiate is exactly that. It's our stickiness. We are no longer just a digital, one-dimensional crowdfunding platform that we originally launched at as great idea. And how do we continue the impact? Right? Because like I said, it's very sad if it's through the last disbursement, bye-bye. I don't know anything about the client's life after that. Should they need more support, other kinds of support, or referral? But by inducting them into a community, the Ray of Hope community, they actually are more comfortable either saying, okay, can I come for your events? Is there other kinds of support you can refer me to? So we are crowdfunding charity plus, which currently no one else does in the crowdfunding space or in the charity space. Yeah? So we're very quick to put that up in lights, so to speak. Singapore's first and only. And that's the space that we'll comfortably sit in for a while. But as Adrian said, cannot be too comfortable. Otherwise, we lose that edge. And then some other smart charity will come and steal that away. No, but yeah. In all seriousness, we do it well. And it's taken a while to come to this.
Quick question. How many people do you email to? Without actually knowing the program that you're using for your mass mailing, I can't give you the answer directly because there's so many programs out there. The only thing I would say to this is I will not, usually for me, this is for me, I don't care how many people click through. For me, if I'm sending an email newsletter, I put it in the email. Because if you do it as an attachment, people sometimes never read. If you do it through another mass mailing program, you have problems like this. I measure it by call to action. So every newsletter that I design that goes out, I actually ask the reader to do something. It could be something as simple as answer a poll. For in cases like yours, come to our event, donate money. For me, that is a better form of measurement. Because just because somebody opens up your newsletter doesn't mean, there's no real impact. It's nice, I think, sometimes any CFOs here? The finance people like to see numbers. Oh, you spend $1,000, you got 10,000 people to read your newsletter. Great, but does that actually mean anything at the end of the day? Not really. But if I spend $1,000, or maybe if you're sending by email, it's free technically, and I get 10 people who actually did something, came to our event, donated money, I think that's a better impact. than trying to measure people opening up the emails. Does that make sense?
Yes, very useful.
Cool. Thank you. Anybody, anything else?
Okay, first the gentleman at the back. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to follow up on communication because you said you send out emailers. Now, as opposed to emailers, some of us, we do mailers, right? But from our experience, we find that mailers, in certain circumstances, can be very unprofitable. So is it because of the concept that mailers have become obsolete or just the content of your mailers?
Okay, I'll give you a great example. Your credit cards and your Singtel, they send a lot of hard copy direct marketing stuff to your, right? I mean, I still get a lot of it. Their open rate, what they consider a successful open rate, 3%. So they send out 100 hard copy mailers. If 3%, 3 of you open it and read it, it's considered successful. Increasingly, that number will go down as the Generation X and up go up. So you do have to move away. As it is, Generation Alpha, which is the people who were born in 2015 or 2010 and up, they don't even like to read emails. So we do have to change. So again, it goes back to who is your audience? Okay? If you're going after the high net worth people, I'm stereotyping and generalizing here, they still tend to be older, so emails work. Okay? Especially to maybe the secretary, I don't know, or personal assistant. So that might still work. Because try to reach Professor Ho on TikTok, I don't think it's going to reach him. So you have to figure out who your audience is and what channels they consume. Interestingly, for some of my clients, I even go down to the level of what time they consume it. So like, for example, social media, a lot of younger people, early in the morning, evening, sometimes lunchtime. On LinkedIn, Mondays, Fridays. Why Monday? Because go back to work, very sad. Fridays, wow, frustrated at my boss, I want to find a new job. You'll laugh, but you'll kind of agree with me. So you kind of need to know what platform you want to use, who your audience is, and how they consume it. If I'm going on TikTok, I'm going on Instagram, I really do need to either make it emotional or entertaining. Because that's why people go to TikTok and Instagram. If I'm going on to LinkedIn, I can be a little bit more intellectual because people are a little bit more willing to read on LinkedIn because they think, okay, it's a knowledge-based platform. Okay? So does that kind of answer your question? But emails actually work better, a little bit better than hard copy mails these days. Okay? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask this question to Dr. Alicia, especially just now when you talk about training, mentoring, So allow me to ask my question in a form of a scenario. Let me give this scenario, and what will your point of view and advice is? Okay, let's say there's this director A. He leads a small team. And being in a small team and, resources are scarce, so they can't really hire much. So this director has been forced to head different teams like HR, marketing, and even IT. But sad to say, this director his own experience, he don't major in those. He major in some other thing. So moving forward as he leads the team operationally, to achieve targets, because he led that area of expertise, knowledge, how is he going to, mentor the junior for example, doing the marketing stuff because he's not marketing trained?
Thanks very much, Solomon, for your question. Perhaps that isn't too unusual a scenario for founder-led organizations or ground-up groups, where if you're the founder, you've got a great idea. It's very compelling. Somehow the story of your life, your identity is very much molded with the mission of the organization, telling some very strong narratives. You can get people to contribute and all. And suddenly, the penny drops when you register. Right? Let's say you become a registered charity and things get formalized. You need to have people who are professional and expert in their specific roles in order to fulfill governance obligations. You need a board. You need a whole lot of other things. So there's certain roles, of course, like finance, HR. Perhaps you really need someone who's had experience in those for accountability and proper due process. Having said that, so Ray of Hope I mentioned, I was the 5th staff who joined 4 years ago. What we have now are also factional managers. Yeah? There's my GM, there's me, I'm deputy GM, and we have a tech lead, a casework lead, a digital marketing and comms lead, and they're all part-time. So while they're not managing the team, the staff below, we have staff who support them in their roles. We've got a comms manager, 2 caseworkers and all, but we wouldn't be able to afford these domain experts, right, at that managerial level full-time. And yet we have to grow, yet we have to expand. We also then have freelance consultants running the data management project I mentioned. Why? Because eventually this will help us to do what we do better. We just have to do a cleanup right now to make sure everything is in order, keeping house. So depending on which stage the organization is in, that might be one question, right? And I suppose knowing more context would help. I think what helped us at a certain juncture 3 years ago is we met Lisa and her lovely team from Talent Trust. Shout out to them. They connected Ray of Hope, my GM and me, to a team of 4 C-suite mentors. Very different expertise, but all business leaders in their own right. They would make time to come and beat us into shape, talk us through the process, explain to us what we needed to do, scenario planning, business model. Because of them, we actually have now implemented a program of works to better engage with our corporate partners. So it's a menu. There are 4 items we have. You want A, B, C, or D, and then we are able to launch a community engagement activity with you. So it's all of these things that help us to build up our capacity and capability that costed us really next to nothing. Yeah, except connecting with Talent Trust or with mentors outside, beyond your charity. But I must say, it does matter at which point of development you're at. Because at Ray of Hope, we partner a lot of founder-led organizations, and it is really both a rite of passage as well as growing pains to suddenly jump to where you need to be accountable, fully accountable, transparent, and have these skills on board that previously, if you've never run a company, you may not even be aware of. And then therein lies some dangers and risks. Yeah? I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer, but we can take this forward, and maybe even Adrian can weigh in as well. I would say, though, Talent Trust is a really good organization. Shout out to Lisa and Aaron here, because thanks to them, Ray of Hope does have a suite of options now to engage with corporate partners. Yeah, and it's all thanks to their mentors. And they're pro bono. They're in the same charity space as us. So it's really looking out for each other. Yeah. It's events like that, right? So thanks to the organizers for putting this together. Any other questions? Last one? Yeah, I must say thanks everyone for your time, and really these are sort of non-stop questions that keep us going, because then we know what's on our minds, right? It's not too different from what's on Ray of Hope's mind right now. So it's good to know there is a sense of solidarity and community even within the charity space. I'm Alicia, that's Adrian. So happy to have been here with you today. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.